We're recording now?
Yeah, we are recording now. Well, I mean, so that's the thing with Tingenuity. We decided we're going to start this project with a limited number of hours each week and see where it goes. And but you just asked me about my Nation of Immigrants podcast. So
yes,
for
I want to hear it.
So for people who don't know what I'm doing there is I have a law firm in addition to this Tingenuity project that I'm working on with my brother. And at the law firm, I've done immigration law for a decade, and I've helped people win their asylum cases. And so one of the projects that I wanted to do is getting into video is interview immigrants about their experiences and talk about what they're doing. And so when you just asked me, where is that and how's that coming? So before I came to Spain, I interviewed a handful of people. Now,
fantastic.
The video person that I hired is not bilingual, okay? And so...
Oh, that's...
But also, the point of the videos is to kind of educate people who wouldn't otherwise know about immigration to learn about it. Right. It's going to be a draw for clients because new people who are potential clients will see the interviews and go, oh, well, these guys won that case and they helped and look at the job they did, right? And so that's compelling. But truly, my mission is to increase awareness with people who wouldn't otherwise hear these stories. Because I had watched the story of somebody from North Korea travel, about how they traveled to South Korea and escaped. And and I don't speak Korean. It was with subtitles, and I watched the whole thing. But we're doing podcast and YouTube channel and everything. So there's an AI tool, get this, that will listen to your voice. It takes only like 2 minutes to get your voice down and duplicate it speaking the new language. And so currently, we've been evaluating AI tools. There's 3 of them that we're looking at. To then, and when we pick one, I'll show you what it's like because it's amazing. Like they have some example videos. They've got famous people you'd know, Elon Musk and other videos and other influencers I'm sure you've seen online. And it'll listen to their voice, and then suddenly they're speaking French or they're speaking Spanish, and it's flawless Spanish, but it's their voice. It's amazing. It's a really cool tool.
Yeah, the fun ones that I like to watch right now are little YouTube shorts that have Trump, Biden, and Obama kind of all yelling at each other about some video game or some nonsense that they're... and then suddenly Mr. Beast comes in and he's like, hey, do this and you can win something. And so the 3 of them are running around some Minecraft map. And
I'm going to have to look this up later because the internet is a beautiful place.
It's a hoot. They're because they've captured them, and the essence of the cadence too, which is kind of funny with their scripts.
Well, so this is just one example of applying what's out there with AI technology now, and a lot of these things are built on OpenAI's platform, which I think is impressive that it's available and it's out there and you can do so much with it. So, yeah. So when you asked, I was like, let's hit record and start talking. So
let's start talking about it right now. Yeah, it's fascinating. All the things that I'm seeing too, that just daily new things. I saw someone posted something and I'm looking at it to figure it out myself, where they created a simple pixel bitmap, sprite kind of thing, animation. So DALL-E 4 created, or DALL-E 3 created 4 little frames and then mashed together and just repeated, looped. It looks like a little sprite from a NES video game, So it's interesting what people are inventing with AI tools that are available, and we'll talk a little bit more about what we're using them for. And like you said, you're using them for law and practice and other things, and I love that you're looking at this opportunity to have that translated. Is the software you're looking at also the one that changes the mouth movements to match the wording?
No, I'm not aware of one that changes the mouth movements. But I'm sure there is one, right? But that we're not so interested in that so much as we are in the audio, right? So because the point of Nation of Immigrants is to get people who wouldn't otherwise hear these stories, to hear these stories and to increase their understanding and be like, oh, this is why people are fleeing Central and South America. And so it's to kind of increase this idea of, well, maybe there are good reasons for illegals, and that's in quotations, to be here in the United States and what they're trying to do. So by just changing the voice, then we can get the podcast going. I haven't really figured out how to, like, should it be 2 separate playlists in YouTube, you know, Spanish and English, or what we should do there. So
well, I mean,
a lot to think about there.
Mr. Beast model, he has, I don't know, 4 or 5 different languages that he posts videos on. So, yeah.
Yeah, and I wonder if he uses an AI tool now to do that, or, I mean...
Probably.
All right, well...
I can only imagine. I mean, but he has a massive team because he's making, you know...
millions and millions of dollars. When you can buy a warehouse and recreate Squid Games, you're doing okay. That's how we'll know, Warren. That's how we'll know, when we can recreate Netflix TV shows.
I don't want to do that.
So we were going to talk today a little bit and introduce you to what we're working on. So we have created a website, Tingenuity.ai, and you can visit us here. And we wanted to kind of share what we're doing here with you, right? Any thoughts?
Right. I think it's fantastic so far. We need to continue to do these conversations where we add more videos and content to our page. I think we're missing one video right now to the page, but
right.
We'll get more as we go along, right? So I'm excited to see what we can provide to our audience here with how to practically use these tools. Where there's not, I mean, there's a lot of flash and a lot of really cool things that people are doing, but how can we use these in our daily lives for our personal benefit, for our work? I mean, we've already talked about personal benefit here with our Dungeons and Dragons prompt, of course.
Right.
And that's really fun, keen, and I used it, 2 weekends ago to help me flesh out an adventure. And not kidding, I did, and with my in-person group, and I was able to, in the normal 3-hour span that I do prep for my Dungeons and Dragons game. Yes, I'm crazy, but that's Dungeon Master, life of a Dungeon Master. In the 3 hours that I spent prepping for the game, I was able to create multiple scenarios where typically I only have 1 or 2 that I can provide to my audience, to my group, and as invariably it is, the group doesn't do any of those things. I had 4 different scenarios, and they were like, no, we'll go with the side character that's going back to somewhere we'd already been. And I'm like, come on now, people. But whatever.
But that's when these prompts are super useful, because then you can just, you know, keep world building on the fly.
Well, yes and no, because at a certain point, you do have to, as the Dungeon Master, you do have to be that improvisational thing.
That's true.
Where I did, but I already had that world built, that particular section, because they'd been there before, and so
it was easier than other things to do.
It was easier than other things, but there was also some aspects that I used for the game we using ChatGPT, because it has been trained with a variety of specs and stats from the versions of Dungeons and Dragons. For example, one of my characters wanted, he's a halfling, he wanted a mount, so he went to find a store to buy a mount, and since he's small, he's like, I want a war dog, and I'm like, I don't know what the stats is for that. I was like, ChatGPT, give me the stat block for a mastiff, riding mastiff, and boom, I printed it out, and handed it to him, said, here you go. So it's trained to do those things.
It will keep things moving in your game.
Yep.
So I wanted to show what we're doing here on the website. We've talked about this at length, and this is kind of where it started. I had posted a video about these prompts on my law firm YouTube channel, and now we've created it in a course format. I do want to show you a little bit of the benefit of, you know, if you actually enroll in the course and what that's like. And so I'm just going to check out here what it's like. So if you, here we'll go back to this screen. If you come over here to the course, you can see the lessons, the course content, and we've put it together with a video in each, you know, lesson. And then we also have the prompts here. And what's great about this format as opposed to a PDF, and this is why we chose to do it in a website format, is that it's easy to create a copy and paste link And so I just copied this prompt, which is kind of a lengthy prompt. And that's the point of what we're saying, is that these tools can accomplish a lot if you give them enough information, right?
Yep.
And so
Yep.
having a platform where we can easily update these very complex prompts was important to us. We were looking at the length of the prompt and thinking, geez, how are we going to fit this on one PDF page, make it easily copy and pastable? And so to put it on a website platform made a lot more sense than other things we were looking at.
Well, I think that's one of the things that we're trying to address in our conversations with AI, is that a lot of the people are just making these simplistic prompts, and they're like, oh, it's been trained. All I have to do is ask it a question. Well, yes, you can, but the more information, the more training that you can provide, the better that response is going to be. So giving that those full details will engage the training that it already has to really provide a more defined, detailed, and concise version of the return that you're looking for.
So I actually want to speak to this for a little bit, because the other day I was, as I frequently do, I'm evaluating tools for my law firm, right? And I was at the website of one software. It's a compelling software. It's good. But they had a downloadable guide. Here's how you can use ChatGPT in your law firm, right? And I opened up the PDF and I thought, yeah, this is not how you use ChatGPT. No. the prompts were simplistic. I'm all like, well, if you ask it to write there are many lawyers who are going to download this PDF, copy and paste the prompts that were provided, like the example prompts, and not get great output and say, well, this isn't going to work, right? Whereas you need more. If you take just 5 more minutes, you can save 2 more hours, right? I'm not exaggerating here. And so that's one of the reasons that I want to, going back to the website, I want to add, a course with prompts specifically for lawyers. And so the next course that we're providing, so this course is a paid course. It's $20 for the ChatGPT prompt course for Dungeons and Dragons. But we're working on a free course, which is like a basic intro, like basic ChatGPT and Midjourney usage. And then the next thing after that is we're looking at advanced usage. And then I know that we're looking at a marketing package and a law firm package. And so those are the courses that are coming next to our website. And they're going to come as fast as we can make them. Right?
Yep. And I think I can speak for myself. I'm digging into creating that marketing packet, as well as I'm sure you're looking into how to advance those prompts for practical law purposes. And that's one of the things that people kind of omit, I think, in a lot of their display of AI, is they're like, oh, look how fun this can be. Well, tell me about the practical uses of it. I mean, yeah, you can make all these really cool things, but how do I insert this into my workflow? And how do I truly use it? So
well, let's talk about that, because
we're going to try to answer.
Right, that's the question we're answering today. And so can I switch to your screen here? Let's do that.
Go ahead.
And then, so tell us about what you're doing here. And this is an example of how you have used Midjourney and ChatGPT, or just Midjourney?
Both Midjourney and ChatGPT. Okay, so this particular project, a real estate executive, a local real estate executive, reached out to me and wanted to talk about return to the office, because commercial real estate thrives in having people in an office, right? I mean, and so while this is kind of controversial, I kind of agree with it from a number of perspectives. I think there are a lot of things that are important with gathering together in one place. It allows for focus, it allows for collaboration, it allows for spontaneity and creativity in those things. It's hard to have spontaneity when you have to set up a Google meeting, ping them for their calendar. Oh, maybe they're not there, maybe they've gone to the restroom in another building. And so you can't just drop by their office and go, hey, I've got an idea. Can we sit and talk about it for a minute? So
versus just walking down the hall, knocking on the door.
Right. So it's particularly from a real estate perspective, right? So people in commercial real estate that manage office buildings and industrial buildings and things like that have a a need to have people in return to the office. And so this executive reached out to me because he had found out I was working with AI and writing stuff about it, and queried if I could use AI to help him write some material. And I said, sure, and he gave me a bunch of ideas, and we're writing 2 different articles, and this is only one of the 2. The other one is about the cyclical nature of real estate and how when there's a downturn, there's always an upsurge afterward, and we just have to figure out when that's going to be and what that's going to look like, because our environment changes, but real estate is very adaptable and resilient. But in this particular case, I used ChatGPT to create the beginnings of the document. So he provided some input, his personal insights. I took those, I gave my own personal insights, added them to it, and then wrote a significant prompt that generated the base idea for this. So
now, when you say that you generated a significant prompt, like, again, when I think back to these law firm examples that I saw, it was 1 or 2 sentences. Like, just kind of size-wise, how big is your prompt? What kind of information did you think to include? Tell me a little bit about that process.
Well, it was, let's see, I spent about 30 minutes writing the prompt.
Okay.
And it was a full 3 paragraphs explaining what I wanted, how I want it written, the details that I wanted to include. And that's why when it created the document, it gave me more than just
did you ask it for those headings?
Generic stuff.
I see headings in the text. Did you ask it for headings too?
Well, these are the kind of things that were important to the executive and myself. What does real
why
estate
work in the
space bring?
office? Relationships.
Why work in
right?
the office? What's
Okay,
important?
gotcha.
Performance, diversity, management, life balance, and health. Because variety of things, and we went through these things. So we gave it an outline, really, of what this content should be. And now I'm putting it together. Now that he and I have kind of massaged it, and again, this is not something that you just go with. You don't just send ChatGPT to do its thing and it creates something. You have to edit it, work through it, massage it, and then make sure that it's true and vetted. I have sources that I pulled for this information, so I've got to work up those sources at the end. But overall, it did a really good job at first pass because I'd provided it with a lot of information. And
let me ask you about your sources, though. Did it provide you the sources and then you checked that they were real, or did you give it those sources to begin with?
It provided some sources, but I had already had a couple sources in mind and used those in our initial outline. And then it just fleshed it out and spoke more in line with us. With this particular piece, and then so after writing the piece, editing it, creating some of this other stuff, he's like, okay, it's ready to send. Let's send it to some executives. Send me a Word document, send me or a PDF. And last night when I got that email, I was like, that's not me. I have to doll it up a little bit, a nice PDF, because it's got to impact. You've got to provide some more impact than just a written document. So using my 20 years of experience in design and marketing, I was like, okay, well, what can I do with this? And as we've spoken up with Midjourney, I went to that to create stock images for this particular application. So all of these images in here are all AI generated, and they're focused around the office kind of thing. And so that's what I'm working on, increasing the draw and impact of this particular piece. So
with the Midjourney images.
With the Midjourney images. So practical applications can be accomplished with these tools. You just have to really focus your efforts and really make detailed prompts.
I want to focus on this though for a minute, because I want to make sure that everybody listening gets it right. All of the images in this flyer created by Midjourney, correct?
Correct. So far, I've still got. If you can see the frames here. I'm working on. Let's see. I'm working on adding some more. Let me go in.
So you
here.
might include some stock photos, but chances are you'll probably just generate them with Midjourney.
Chances are I am not. I'm going to generate these all with Midjourney. So let me see.
Awesome. That's fantastic.
I just completed another stock image that I wanted to add. Where is it? Some more office people. So I'm going to shrink this down. So here we go. We've got some more office people talking, So when you look at this document, you're going to get, I don't know, I should probably have some buildings. But this is where it comes into using your knowledge and your expertise. It's not going to lay out this document in the way that I want it. I don't know if it has the capabilities yet to do that. I would be interested to see that. I did see something.
Right. We were looking at a clip a couple weeks ago about a guy who had it code out a site.
Right. So, the applications are increasing, but right now, use what it will do and then augment it with your strengths and your expertise. So I'm already enamored with this document, and I think it's going to be fantastic when it finally gets completed.
All right. Well, so let's talk about practical applications. So that saved you a lot of time. You were able to deliver this client work in a fun and cool format and in a neat way.
Yeah.
I want to talk about something that for me would have been impossible because and this saved me probably thousands of dollars and lots of time. So I'm pretty technical. You know that I'm pretty technical, but by profession, I am a lawyer, right? And so I have not ever actually learned to code. Like, I have played with WordPress for the better part of 15 years. I feel very comfortable making websites.
You're very good at it.
Oh, thank you very much. I appreciate that. And so I know a lot of interfaces and settings, and I know how things connect. And a lot of times when I get on with customer service reps, and maybe this is super prideful and I should stop saying this, but I find it to be helpful. I'll tell people, look, I probably know more about this than you do. And in fact, when I got on with the Odoo support people at one point, they're like, you know more about this than I do. And I'm like, okay. But I don't know how to do an API, right? Like, I've never programmed connecting softwares. And I'd had trouble. So Zapier has a Zap that will connect a Gravity Forms submission, which is what we do. We fill out our new client submissions in Gravity Forms, which is a WordPress plugin. And then we send it to Zapier, and we send it from there to everywhere we need it to go. And we're looking at Odoo because we want to combine a lot of our tools. Odoo is a very impressive tool for those of you who look at it. Not the point of this conversation specifically. It has an API. And when you look at Zapier and other connective tools online, most of them are geared towards creating a lead in Odoo. But a lead is not a contact. And I needed it to create like a customer, a contact, a specific record for an individual, and not just a new opportunity for sales. And so basically, I hopped into ChatGPT. I copied this API documentation and said, hey, here are the tools I'm working with. I've heard that you can create a custom Zap. I've got Gravity Forms on WordPress. It links with Zapier. And I want to link it to Odoo, and I want to create a new customer record. Here's the API documentation. What ideas do you have, and how do I do this? It laid out specifically for me for what I needed to do, which was amazing. It laid out everything and was all like, oh, this is what you can do. Use Zapier webhooks, blah, blah, blah. And so then I reached out to my brother. I said, hey, is this going to work? Because we have another brother who's even more technical. He's a programmer by profession.
Software
and he's all like,
engineer.
he goes, yeah, he's a software engineer. So he says, oh, well, you should use Postman to test the API. Back to ChatGPT, I'm all like, do you know what Postman is? And they're like, sure, I know what Postman is. Here's how you use it. I'm all like, great. Now let's take all this other prior information, test the API with Postman. And so it told me exactly how to use Postman, which, by the way, first I spent an hour watching videos online trying to figure it out and still couldn't. But then ChatGPT to the rescue told me exactly what to do, exactly what fields to put things in. And so by the time I was done, I was able to program my own API link from Gravity Forms to Zapier to Odoo, create customers, which I'd been reaching out to people at Zapier, at different softwares who were like, oh no. And I even had one provider who was all like, oh, I've got it. And then I implemented it and then it didn't work. after the first couple of days. And then they went radio silent on me after I was like, hey, you guys got to fix this. I totally paid for your service. And then they just haven't responded. And so that's what drove me to figure it out on my own. And what I did works, you know, but it's amazing that ChatGPT helped me use a tool that I would not have been capable of doing on my own and essentially program this link, which is fantastic, right? It's not something that I could have figured out at all.
Yeah, exactly. But you had, you know, some resources beyond yourself. I mean, you had our brother who's a software engineer to kind of
a couple of prods in the right direction.
So he had the expertise. Again, it lies in the expertise of those around us. Yes,
That's
it's
true.
a great assistive technology, but you had no idea what it was doing, and you couldn't have performed that functionality until you had that understanding, right?
Well, there is that. Like, so he clued me into Postman as like a tool that I could use to test the API. But when I was trying to figure out Postman, I thought, man, I really just wish I could call Todd right now, but it wasn't a good time because of the time difference. Right. And then I was all like, I'll just ask ChatGPT. And that's what helped me figure it out. But yeah, I mean, definitely having expertise and a body of knowledge to know what to ask. It's similar to like frankly, just using Google. Like, your ability to find out what to search depends on your knowledge, right? And this is reflected in search too. Like, there's short tail keywords and then more specific searches or long tail keywords, because as you research and learn more about the product you're looking at, you're going to ask for more specific things, which is why SEO is built around kind of long tail keywords. And ChatGPT can be similar in that the more specific, and this is something we hit over and over again, is the more specific you are with the information you give it, the better it's going to be for you. So, yeah.
I concur. But, you know, here we are, practical applications to use this amazing tool. And I'm going to say that as it is a tool. It is just like a calculator or the Adobe software that I use or the video software that we're using. So it's just a tool.
It's a tool. Well, we're wrapping up here in a bit. Do you want me to, I think it'd be fun to go out on a light note. So you have talked about how you've used it in your career for client work. I have used it in my career for internal work because we're moving systems. But I wanted to share with you my wife yesterday. So she's teaching English here in Spain. Okay. And she has to like create classroom assignments and stuff. And it was Halloween yesterday. And so she was assigned with doing something about Edgar Allan Poe, which is fun because we're from Richmond and that's where Edgar Allan Poe was and everything. And so anyway, poet. She gets out of the shower. She's like, oh, I got to get this thing done in like an hour. Can you help me use ChatGPT to create a crossword puzzle? And I was all like, sure. Yeah, I bet it can do it, right?
That's fun.
And so here, I'm going to show you the output. I'm going to share my screen here. And so what's interesting here is I put in just a quick prompt, which is not as specific as we would need it to be, right?
Can you zoom in a little bit?
Yeah. I'll see if I can make it a little bit bigger.
Just Command plus.
Like that, or Command plus.
There you go. Yeah, there you go.
All right.
I can read it now.
All right. So, yeah, so I had, we talked about it, and you know how you and I are always talking about making it more specific in the prompt. And so we started with this, but then she kept getting more specific with the prompt as it went along. She's like, well, I need it to be like this. And so if you plan it out, of course, you're going to get a better response. And I had left it in the advanced data analysis type because that's what I've been using a lot because you can upload documents. So that's what I've been playing with on the law firm side is if I can upload multiple documents and have them compare and things like that. But anyway, this is her prompt. It gives us the crossword puzzle. It picks words. Unfortunately, it included the word skull, which is not what we wanted it to include. That was the word they were supposed to discover in the crossword. It laid it out. So this doesn't quite work. But it's interesting that it gave it a good old college try. But it gives good clues. And then from there, she was able to like organize the crossword herself, which was fun.
Awesome.
Then we said, hey, none of the main words can be skull. Try again. And then from there on, she refined it. And I want to show you here just to kind of end. So we kept refining it. But then she goes, okay. She goes, well, I really want to create an escape room for my students. Is there a way that we can incorporate it into an escape room? And then it totally did that. Where did we do that? Is it not in this thread?
New tab.
I'll check it here in a bit. Let's see which thread it is in. But yeah, it totally just created an entire escape room just with a simple question. It's so like, yeah, I can absolutely do that.
That's fun.
And I think, I mean, she did an escape room. She didn't use the escape room that it made. She already had some ideas and things, and some props of her own. I mean, she wasn't going to go out. I think it like suggested to her to like go out and buy like a clock and like a globe and other things. She's like, I've got 30 minutes before I got to get there. But the idea that it could, and that it quickly created an entire crossword puzzle and could make an entire escape room is just kind of amazing.
Fun. Yeah, it is really cool that it's able to configure that so quickly. And, you know, it's just a great assistive technology where you'd spend 8 hours trying to lay out those words, make the layout, decide what the words are in the first place, you know, so it's speed and efficiency. That's one of the things that I love about it.
Oh yeah, like when you brainstorm things, and the fact that it picked out words related to Edgar Allan Poe, and then if you asked it why those words, it's all like, sure, here's the reasons why. Like this is how it's all related.
His works are easily accessible.
Yeah. So it's a fascinating technology. I'm glad we're using it. I'm glad we get to talk about it. Next week we're going to have, I hope to have ready some lawyer prompts, because I feel like there's not enough good lawyer prompt content out there. So that's what I'm going to bring to the table next week. And and then also hopefully we'll have some progress on our basics course for everybody to check out, take a look at. So we'll see you guys in a week or two.
I'll see you in the future.
All right. Thanks.